The 70th International Astronautical Congress is always full of the latest in space research and exploration. This time we meet in beautiful Washington, D.C., a city rich of history and home to NASA's headquarters. IAC TV starts right now. Hello and welcome to Day 4 of IAC TV. I'm Sonia Gavankar, ready to bring you everything you need to know from this year's World Congress. First though, let's take a moment to look back at how the past 70 years of IAC meetings have changed and what the IAC means for the space industry.
I had the pleasure to participate at the IAF Congress, as it was called in the past, for the last 35 years. But I think the major change is linked to that. When we had the conference in the 80s, they were the main event for news on space. We didn't have internet, so people had big ears, came to the conference to listen. What is the biggest news in the US, in the Soviet Union, Europe, Japan, etc. So it was, besides being a fantastic networking place, it was the place to get all the news.
Now, I've been coming, I think, must be for about 25 years maybe by now. And I guess the most obvious change is just the size of it. It's grown, but not just the size, also the mix. I think initially, of course, it was during the Cold War era. And now we have many more SMEs, we have many more startups, new ideas, new space and so forth. So it's actually much more energetic than it perhaps was 25 years ago, so it's great.
The International Astronautical Congress, I like to call the biggest space conference of the year that actually represents how the world looks. When I come to the IAC, which I do every year, I look forward to seeing the leaders and professionals, business thinkers from every continent.
During these 3 years, what has been a big pleasure for me is to implement the 3G approach, to see more young people, more ladies, more people coming from everywhere. And today the IAF is global and it is a big achievement.
I'm so pleased when I see we have people representing Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and Asia, and that you have a balance, as you do see in the world population, so that we are excited to see the inputs and the opinions of all types of countries. This is more important in the future because in the coming years, the space community is going to make some key decisions about how we operate in areas like space traffic management and how humans may start to create homes in places beyond Earth. It's vital that as we move forward, venues like the International Astronautical Congress and other related activities such as the United Nations and bilateral discussions, they should all allow us to hear the point of view of countries of all continents on how the global community will operate in space in the future. So the IAF has played a key role in being a non-political venue where technical people and managers and policymakers exchange views in a peaceful setting. And that needs to continue because we only have more important things to address in the future.
Professor Pascale Ehrenfreund is going to be the IAF's first female president. Let's head back into the studio to talk to her and see what she has in mind for the future of the Federation. We're now joined by Pascale Ehrenfreund, the incoming IAF president. Thanks for joining us. How does it feel to be the first female president of IAF?
Well, I think it's a great honor and a really pleasure and privilege to be the president of the International Astronautical Federation. It's the largest space advocacy body in the world with about 400 organizations and from 70 countries.
What can members expect during your term?
Well, with my vice presidents and the bureau, the executive director, we are now developing the space advocacy agenda 2019 to 2022. I have a 3 year term, and we would really like, to focus on this vibrant new area with many more countries, entering the space arena, but also more actors. We have a very great global space economy. We have new actors like space entrepreneurs, and we want to focus on developing, a really great global space dialogue between all the actors, including non-space actors.
Well, space is so exciting right now. Exploration is really at the top of everyone's minds. Why is it important to be talking about this, and why is space exploration so important?
Well, space exploration has many rationales. Apart from scientific discoveries, which are amazing, there are new technology advancements, innovative technologies, which are really to the benefit of society on Earth and the economy. We have, of course, international cooperation, the large endeavors which we pursue in space, like for instance the International Space Station. We cannot do it alone. It can only be done in international cooperation. And then of course it's a big source for inspiration for society at large, but also for the young generation.
When you first attended IAC as a young woman, did you ever think you'd be the president?
I don't think so, but it was always exciting because all space actors are here, space agencies, industry, space entrepreneurs, universities, institutions. It's just that place to be.
Thank you so much for joining us, Professor,
Thank you.
and good luck with your term.
Yes, thank you very much.
Universities, organizations, and agencies are all working together in order to ensure a successful future in space. Let's take a moment to see what some of those teams around the world are doing.
We are in the age of space exploration and enjoy an unprecedented level of mobility. The horizons of humankind have expanded enormously. Nowadays, space probes are exploring the solar system, with humans set to follow. Space and aviation were and still are a magnet for the visionaries, the curious, and the bold. The University of Zurich, UZH, is Switzerland's largest comprehensive university and belongs to Europe's most prestigious research institutions. Due to its high diversity, interdisciplinary spirit, and global partnerships, the University of Zurich has a long tradition of innovation and ranks in the top 10 of the most innovative universities in Europe. Space and aviation are key drivers of research and innovation, playing an important role for the economy. Space is being increasingly transformed into a place for research and development, for testing and production, and into a goal and destination for human mobility. The UZH Space Hub is the innovation cluster space and aviation of the University of Zurich.
It is not about buildings and equipment. It is about sustainable science and innovation. And it is not theoretical, that's real. We are working, we are developing, and we are flying. We are UZH Space Hub.
We contribute, together with our academic partners, towards vibrant aerospace activities in the Innovation Park Zurich in Dubendorf. Here, a national innovation park is being constructed side by side with the large Dubendorf airfield. This combination is a one-of-a-kind prospect in Europe and a big advantage for competitive innovation in aerospace.
Innovation Park Zurich is about innovating people who want to work, collaborate, and share their experience in a rapid developing ecosystem.
Scientists from the University of Zurich Space Hub rank among the most experienced experts in the world.
Here at the Centre for Theoretical Astrophysics and Cosmology, there's one question that binds all of our research together. And that's the question of our origins.
How did the universe and its galaxies, stars, and planets come into being? What role do mysterious forces such as dark energy play? And what does the future have in store for the cosmos? These questions are being looked into by our astrophysicists. They are involved in major international space missions, such as Jupiter missions, missions to investigate the role of dark energy and dark matter, and the investigation of gravitational waves.
We work on gravitational waves The gravitational wave have been postulated more than 700 years ago by Albert Einstein, who was, by the way, also professor here at the University of Zurich. And after this century, we finally managed to find these gravitational waves. LISA is a very important mission led by the European Space Agency, and it will open a completely new window to explore the universe.
In Earth observation, we improve our understanding of the Earth and its ecosystems. Sensors on drones, aircrafts, or satellites detect and document the various conditions and processes on the Earth's surface and in the atmosphere, shows the influence of humans on the regional, national, and global scale. New technologies make it possible to develop measures for protecting the environment and climate.
Earth observation is that tool to observe climate and nature globally.
So in our airborne research team, we do all the flight planning, then payload operations on board the aircraft, and later on all the data processing.
The gravitational force on Earth played a crucial role in the development of all organisms and their architecture and function. Space Life Sciences investigates how Earth's gravity regulates the homeostasis of the human organism and the function of cells and genes. Microgravity is a unique tool for new research and production methods in pharmacology, tissue regeneration, and in developing alternatives to animal experiments.
Microgravity is a unique tool for fundamental and applied research.
Microgravity research might help to understand spinal health.
Flying robot systems will, in the future, be aware of their surroundings, be able to respond to them, and thus be able to move without the need for external control from humans. Such systems can yield major advantages in inaccessible and dangerous areas and be used for rescue operations in the event of natural disasters. UZH Space Hub is connected with research institutions and companies around the world. We are working together with NASA in various science programs. Thanks to our partnership with Space Florida, we have laboratories and offices in Space Florida's Exploration Park at the Kennedy Space Center. Thanks to the support of the Swiss Air Force, UZH has been able to use the Dubendorf Military Airfield for research purposes for a long time now. Physical, technological, biological, and medical experiments have been carried out as part of the Swiss Parabolic Flight Program, an extreme climb followed by a controlled dive, following the course of a ballistic parabola. This is how microgravity conditions are created in the Airbus A310-0G. Nearly 30 research projects have now taken place on board the Swiss Parabolic Flight Program, and the flying laboratory of a NASA aircraft has taken off from Dubendorf to spend several weeks flying for developing new generations of satellite instruments, able to constantly monitor biodiversity across the entire planet.
Innovation is about curiosity, but also about inspiration and the interest to create something new.
We know that we can neither coordinate nor schedule ideas and ingenuity. New developments often appear out of the blue, are provoked by external factors, take time to come to fruition, reveal our limits, and, at the same time, display the opportunities available to us.
We are innovation.
We are Earth observation.
We are airborne remote sensing.
We are Space Life Sciences.
We are astrophysics.
We are astrobiologists and cosmologists.
We are flying science.
We are going.
Great ideas need a great environment. Highly dedicated specialists and lateral thinkers, first-class infrastructures, and world-leading research institutions nearby, and a fully operational airfield on site. All this makes the Innovation Park in Dubendorf the spirit of innovation, curiosity, and achievement, as well as knowledge and a willingness to take risks. This is what we stand for and what we work towards.
It's a really exciting time to be in the space industry now because we've received a directive from the president to return humans back to the surface of the moon, something that hasn't been done for 50 years. And the more we can learn about our solar system, the more we can understand about our own planet and how it was formed, plus the desire to just understand, was there life in our solar system before? Will we discover that there's life in our solar system? Artemis is the program that's going to take humans back to the surface of the moon. It's a series of missions that will lead up to Artemis 3, but it doesn't stop there. There'll be Artemis missions beyond that, so we'll have a sustained presence at the moon, which will allow us to explore the moon, learn more about the resources that are on the moon that can take humans farther into our solar system.
The Orion spacecraft will contain other elements of the architecture like habitats, landers, ascent stages, to be able to stay in space much longer than what a single spacecraft could be. We learned a lot during Apollo. In the last 50 years, we've done things in low Earth orbit, but only about 24 have gone higher than just a quarter of an inch above a globe. This is the machine that'll be able to take us further than we've gone before and build on all of the research that's been done to date. Orion technologies include heat shield, electronics, fault tolerance, propulsion systems, power generation, environmental control, habitation, waste systems, a galley. It's the entire city to keep the crew alive and comfortable.
Artemis 1 will be launched next year to orbit the moon and verify that our vehicle design works. Artemis 2 will bring crew out to the moon, verifying that we can take crew out to deep space orbit, keep them alive, allow them to work in space, and then return them safely to Earth. In the meantime, NASA's already starting with procuring the Gateway. They started with the power and propulsion element, along with the habitation and logistics outpost. The Gateway is really important for us to explore the lunar surface. Astronauts can actually operate rovers on the lunar surface from the Gateway. And then once the astronauts go home, we can continue to operate those assets through the Gateway as a communications outpost from Earth. Not only that, the Gateway allows us to further explore the lunar surface with humans at any point on the lunar surface. We want to explore all of the moon, not just one point, and the Gateway enables that. NASA's really focused on going to the moon, but then also to Mars. They envision using the Lunar Gateway to bring humans on Orion from Earth out to the Gateway, down to the lunar surface on the human landing system, but then also building up vehicles like Mars Base Camp that would take humans out to the red planet for the first time and then down to the Martian surface.
What this program means for society going back to the moon and Mars is learning more about what we know about the moon and the solar system around us and what's happening on Earth, what's happened to Mars in the past. Significance of it is we've learned a lot with instruments and robots, but with humans, humans can think while they're on the surface of another planet, and they can discover things that you couldn't pre-program into a robot.
We're going back to the moon because it's what we do. We explore. But in addition to being able to explore, we're going to learn more about our solar system and how that affects and protects us here on Earth. And I think the other reason we're going back to the moon is to inspire. We want to inspire the next generation, and there is nothing more inspirational than going to space.
Noosphere is a global investment fund, and we believe that we are one of the most prominent and active investors in space technology. Noosphere is the primary investor in Firefly Aerospace. To date, we've invested a little over $95 million in Firefly. Through its various space investments, Noosphere saw a strong market need for a small and medium launch provider. Having looked broadly at the market, we determined that Firefly Aerospace had the right team, the right technology, and fundamentally the right payload class to deliver on the market needs.
So, I mean, if you see on our logotype called Noosphere, right? Noosphere actually been invented by Vernadsky. It's Ukrainian scientist who lived 120 years ago in the Ukraine, who believes that it's like geosphere, biosphere, so it's like different spheres around the Earth. And the top one is Noosphere. Nous, or N-O-U-S, or N-O-O-S, depending on Latin or Greek language, it means knowledge. So it's knowledge about basically a knowledge as an envelope exists around the Earth. That's how we all get connected. That's how passions get together, how brains get together around to solve out the problem of the Earth.
So we're still in development phase at Firefly. We remain on track to launch in February 2020. And so the majority of our technical progresses have been leading and building up to this. We've completed full qualification of our upper stage, and beginning within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be working on full qualification for our first stage. From a business perspective, we're incredibly proud of all the partners and customers who've elected to fly with Firefly. Firefly is not just a launch company, we actually operate spacecraft as well. And so, for example, we're looking forward to partnering with NASA in its return to the moon in as early as 2021.
Firefly is a new space company, and what that means is we're trying to dramatically lower the cost of entry to space. We are focusing on the small satellite industry, so we're trying to provide a solution for small to medium launch. We've been working on this for about the last 5 years, and we're just about to launch in the next 6 months, and we'll begin regular service in 2020 for both commercial and government customers.
At Firefly, we're developing a new space company to build and operate a new launch vehicle to dominate the small to medium launch class market, as well as in-space capabilities for small to medium lunar landers and orbital transfer vehicles. To get to space, you really have to develop not only the technical capabilities, but an amazing team to integrate together in a cohesive way to build the launch vehicle, the launch site, the test site, do all the technical regulations, and really build an operational flow. At Firefly, we really want to come out of the gate ready to launch on a steady cadence, building a successful business right from the start.
90% of the Alpha rocket is made out of carbon fiber. There are a lot of different materials we could have chosen to build the airframe out of, but to us, composite seemed like the obvious choice. Carbon fiber has the highest strength to weight ratio, and so when comparing and looking at metallics, yes, they are really strong in 3 different directions, but we don't need strength in all directions. So laying up the carbon fiber for us means that we can put extra strength where we need it, and then we don't have to lay up plies in places where we don't need that strength. Carbon composites lend themselves incredibly well to robotic manufacturing. Once we're beyond the development stage for Alpha, we'll migrate nearly all our composite manufacturing to auto fiber placement. AFP will enable Firefly to manufacture an entire Alpha airframe, start to finish, in as few as 9 days.
As part of Firefly's 5-year plan to expand into spacecraft, there's an opportunity called NASA CLPS, which is NASA Commercial Lunar Payload Services. And Firefly intends to field a small lunar lander to take cargo to the moon for NASA. Now, we're not starting from scratch. Fortunately, we have a partner in IAI, which is an Israeli company that has demonstrated a lander called Genesis. Firefly is taking that lander and improving it and putting American-built components into it as a stepping stone for us to get into building spacecraft.
The lunar lander is a great addition to Firefly. We started off as a launch vehicle company, and the lunar lander really expands our scope and leverages what we do well, but also aligns us with a teammate that's already done this before. So we're the one competitor out there that is teamed with a company that has gotten all the way to lunar orbit, and so we're going to do it again, but we're going to build it here in the US.
Firefly is a new space company, which means we're trying to change the paradigm. It also means we're trying to draw more people into the industry and into space access. Noosphere has a mission that's very parallel to Firefly's mission. They're our primary investor, and in the future, we think that not only building hardware will be a collaboration between us, but also education and STEM will be something that we'll focus on with Noosphere.
I think that most humans have a natural desire to understand the things that they can see around them. And for a lot of us, it's looking up into space, and the way to understand that is for us to get there. So it's really exciting to be working at a company that builds launch vehicles and in-space services, because I get an opportunity to see the power and the ingenuity that goes into a system built by man that can lift off into outer space.
In the near term, the most fundamental challenge that I'm looking forward to overcoming is getting to space. We're on track to be flying in Q1 next year, and I look forward to that day when we're all standing at Vandenberg watching Alpha fly to space. Beyond that, an important transitional element for Firefly next year is the shift from development stage to a rinse and repeat manufacturing phase. And so we're looking to fly 5 missions in total next year and scaling up to at least 10 missions in 2021. And that is going to require a different set of skills and a real maturing of the company, and that is the challenge that we're looking forward to making.
Since the earliest civilizations, 2 questions have driven humanity's curiosity. Where did we come from, and are we alone? Europa, an ocean moon of Jupiter, can provide some keys to help answer those fundamental questions. The Europa Clipper mission, NASA's next outer planet flagship mission, will explore Europa to investigate whether it harbors conditions suitable for life. Let's take a moment to learn some more about the mission.
Europa is one of the moons of Jupiter. All evidence suggests that it has liquid water. In fact, more than twice as much as we have on Earth. And so the Europa Clipper mission is going to send a spacecraft with a state-of-the-art suite of instruments to go and investigate Europa and its habitability. Europa is covered by an ice shell, and that appears to be mostly water with some salts. And one of the things we know about it is that it is not very cratered, and this is unusual in our solar system. What we do see are cracks in the ice and ridges and other sort of chaotic mottled regions. That all suggests that there is turnover between the ocean and the surface. We also know that Europa has likely a rocky interior, which means that we also have some interesting possibilities for chemistry at the boundary layer between the ocean and the rocky interior. So Clipper is going to go and tell us more about the thickness of the ice shell. It's going to tell us about the thickness of the ocean and its salinity, and essentially the rest of the mission will be focused on the composition and the geology and understanding also the fine scale, local scale surface and topography that will form the basis for reconnaissance. This mission addresses one of the most profound science questions of our time and one of NASA's key objectives, which is the question, are we alone in the universe? Europa has the potential for having all of the necessary ingredients for life. The moon has likely been stable for about 4 billion years, which would give time for life to evolve. And so we're going to be going there with Europa Clipper to start to investigate that.
Now we want to hear from you. What has been your biggest takeaway from this year's Congress?
The biggest takeaway for me as a student is the level at which the technology has been developed when it is concerned to space, because when you consider the past expeditions, the US is very much famous for landing man on the moon. But now that's pretty usual, but when I come here and visit the conference, we are coming to know how the technology here has developed to its farthest extent. Now we're thinking to land man to Mars. So we landed man on moon, but now we're thinking about Mars. So you can see the difference between the missions here. So this is how we are taking a leap towards the future. And this is very inspiring for me as a student. So I've taken a lot from here, and meeting new people, great personalities, it's been awesome for me. I knew what was going on in my university, but when I come here, I mean, there's a lot going out there, and I think that there are many technologies where different professors are working on, different industries are working on, which I had no idea about when I was in university, and this is the whole point. Like after coming out here, my, the vision has broadened up, and I'm coming to know the different technologies that are, coming into the market.
My biggest takeaway from this year's Congress as a young professional, and not necessarily in the aerospace industry, is making connections and learning about different things and being able to apply this in the future of my career.
My biggest takeaway of this year's conference has been that, as happens every year, but this year is very big, and that is that with so many more space agencies, with so many more kids that need to get educated, everybody understands that this is our mission for space science. And we're seeing more and more different ideas on how to do space science throughout the world. Milo Space Science Institute, something I'm working on, that's one of the ideas, but people are getting it. They're understanding that here's our chance now, because the costs are coming down, there's more interest throughout the world, more interest being a spacefaring nation, that we can have more space science for the world.
So I think my biggest takeaway from this year's Congress has been just meeting all of the different people from all the different countries and then learning about all their research that they're doing. It's great to see what everyone else is doing, not just in the US, and how we can collaborate with other countries and really form these international alliances.
Well, that's it for us here at the 70th International Astronautical Congress. We hope you've enjoyed our show, but don't forget, you can watch on YouTube. Bye for now, but we'll see you next year in Dubai.